Hey, what's good, man? This is EC Pinchar Podcast with one and only host, Glory. Boy, back again with another video. Yeah. And this video I have with some of the special women that I've met in my life. I'm going to let them introduce themselves so that way we could go ahead and just start. And this is going to be based on International Women's Day, correct? Yep, and I have some questions for them, so that way, for the women that's watching this. All right, you could start with you and just say your name. You could say what you do, and that's it.
Hey, everyone. My name is Teresa. I'm a counselor at Canisius College. I met Glory 4 or almost 5 now, summers ago, and we've known each other ever since.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kavina. I also work for the HOP office at Canisius College, where I met Glory. I serve as the associate director to that program.
My name is Taylor. I work in the COPE office as well. I'm the academic success coach here, and I also work as the career center liaison.
Perfect. And just one advice. As you can see, the way I'm speaking in the mic is like I'm a little closer to it. Mm-hmm. So that way, try to speak a little closer to it because it's much better, All right. So first question would be like, how was it like you guys like growing up? I mean, just in Buffalo, going through high school to college. How was it like?
Are we talking from like the woman perspective?
The woman's perspective, correct.
Yeah. Growing up was hard. Being a woman was difficult at certain times. I'll say I'm 34. I had, I grew up in a really interesting time where skinny or thin was all the rage. It was, the curves and Kardashians. Those didn't come till later. So growing up as a woman, very impressionable. You deal with a lot compared to yourselves, your peers, celebrities out there. So growing up was tough. I'm glad I'm kind of now on the other side of maturing, and it's been quite a ride.
Yeah, so for myself, I'm the oldest of, let me see, because I always get this wrong. So my mother, she had 6 children, and she raised 7. And then my dad had 3. And I'm the oldest out of everyone. So I would say growing up for me was hard in the sense of being the older sibling and always having to make sure that, I'm setting a good example for my siblings and that sort of thing. But not only that, too, resources was scarce because there was so many of us. I would say that my parents definitely did their best to give us a decent upbringing with the resources that they had. So even if they were going through hard times, we never necessarily knew that because they made it comfortable for us. But from the standpoint of just being an older sibling, it was really hard for me because I had so many people looking up to me. And so I always felt like I had to work 10 times as harder just to set a good example and show them the way. And that means like going to school, doing decent in school, having college in the forefront of my mind, and showing them that education is important. Right. Not to say that I was the best student, but I tried the best that I can. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
How about you, Taylor?
I would probably say the same as Teresa, navigating childhood, being a, heavier set child. It is tough because kids can be very, they can be scarring.
Right.
They're very mean. So trying to navigate that growing up it was hard.
Yeah, but, okay, so if you guys were to face, a struggle, for example, you guys mentioned what y'all faced, how did you overcome it in order to, have that self-empowerment, build up your self-esteem and just be out there as a kid? Because a lot of kids still deal with stuff like that today, how did you overcome stuff like that?
I definitely don't think it happens overnight. I can remember, I'm kind of dating myself, before Instagram, before Twitter, there were AIM messengers, AOL messengers, and that's kind of when like the ambiguity of being on the internet kind of was not used for the right reasons. So growing up in high school, there were many men, I'm not picking on the men, but that's just who it kind of seemed to be, would make fake screen names and kind of come at women. And it was like enjoyment for them. Taylor said scarring. It was really hard. You had people who you didn't even know. They may have been in your school. They may have been in an adjacent school to yours. I grew up in Lewiston, so it could have been Niagara Falls, Niagara Wheatfield, somewhere close by if they had your screen name, just kind of coming for you. And you had no idea why. And it's already a really tough age. So my sister was 1 year older than me, and she had all the more confidence than I did. And she really kind of took up for me when I didn't have a voice. She used to go up to people in school when we found out who they were.
Shout out to Sis, man.
Shout out to Sis. Shout out to Spaghetti and Meatballs. She used to stick up for me when I felt that I couldn't. And watching her do that for me couple times over and over again, then you can kind of get your own footing and your own tracking.
Right.
But it's hard to at first.
I would say the same too, and piggybacking off of that in regards to like just sticking up for yourself. And then I think also too, just like it takes time, but just like figuring out who you are as a person and growing into your own self, and then realizing that people's opinions on you aren't important because they don't pay your bills. You know, they aren't going to, like, get you through the school. They're not going to walk across the stage with you. So stuff like that, like, I had to, like, figure out my worth at a young age. True. And then also realize that people's opinions don't really matter.
Exactly. People's opinion don't really matter, to be honest. Everybody have their own opinion. And you can't really, like, kind of, like, make them kind of switch up on their opinion because their opinion is correct to them, you know. So, like you said, right, just ignoring that. And so let's get straight into this question. So that was just a little warm-up, you know. How you feeling?
Ooh, that was a warm-up?
That's just a little warm-up. But, yeah, since it's Women's Day, but I have some questions for the women. But, like, if you could tell us, because you guys mentioned you're not from this generation, you're from the generation before this generation. So what's the difference between, like, women now and women back then? Based on, like, your own perspective.
We didn't have as much access to social media. I think that's the biggest thing. And so therefore, you know, a lot of times, like, I have an 18-year-old daughter. And so everything with her is like what everybody else is doing on social media.
Right.
What they dress, what they have on, where they're traveling, you know, this designer this and designer that. And so it wasn't so much stress on me when I was growing up. It's because I didn't have all of this to compare myself to. And so it made a big difference. Like, so the things that we did, we enjoy being out with our friends, you know, playing kickball and, you know, walking from one end of the city to the next end of the city and just being carefree. And
I'm dead. You said kickball.
Yeah, I mean, no, seriously, we did. We, you know, just those things like, you know, when your parents tell you to stay out the house and you don't come in the house till the street lights come on. Like, we literally didn't come in the house till the street lights came on, and we enjoyed ourselves when we found things to do. And so now, and because they have so much more access to the internet, social media, and other people's lives, they're so more prone to worrying about what's going on in other people's life than really actually enjoying their youthfulness, you know.
Right.
And so that's what I would say is the biggest thing is just the more access that the younger generation have than when I was growing up.
Right.
Yeah, I think as far as, so I'm a millennial. I know we got now Gen Zers, Gen X, right? You know, I think there's more role models out there now for body positive, curves, full figure woman. I do think that's great, but it's also paying attention to who your role models are and not getting caught up in what looks good or Gucci this, Gucci that. You know, these people are often brands. What does that brand portray? Right. And the younger women, because I was theirs too, I'm not picking on anybody, are really impressionable. Mm-hmm. So it's, you know, being smart about who you're looking up to. Often it's celebrities, but what do those celebrities stand for? Mm-hmm. Is pretty interesting when you dive into that.
Okay. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of, like you just said about celebrity, like, were you guys looking up to celebrities a lot or not at all? Like today, you know, there's some kids, there's some girls that want to have lips just like Kylie Jenner. Mm-hmm. You know, like a butt, like freaking Nicki Minaj, you know? Yeah, but like, was that going on like throughout your time? Or, I mean, was there like different like things trending for you guys to like look up to and try to do?
I feel like it probably was going on, but I feel like because, like Kavina said, the internet is around so much more than it was like back in my day. I feel like I never looked at a celebrity and they also didn't show their lives as much as they do now. So you didn't have influencers, you didn't have people documenting their life every step of the way. It was more like you saw them on the red carpet, you saw them at award shows, and that was it. So if anything, I'm like, oh, her outfit's cute. Yeah. Like I want her outfit, but not like I'm gonna go and do the stupid stuff that you see celebrities doing, and then like some of it is dangerous, cosmetic surgeries and you know.
I think like the trends have changed too. Yeah. Where when I was growing up, I'm an '88 baby. Thin was all the rage. You would have never paid for a BBL back in the day. It would have been insane to, you know, have a theory of being bigger. And so, or Botox, that was brand new.
It was okay to be, it was just okay to have a natural body back then.
Like even eyebrows. Shout out to Christina Aguilera. She used to shave her eyebrows off and draw them on with a marker.
just like you know, Doja Cat.
Yeah. Oh
my God. Like Doja Cat.
She's been putting like designs in hers. They look like little tattoos.
Right.
That's very 2000s.
Very.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
And it's scary. It's scary. You know, you have a Kylie Jenner. She is a beautiful woman, but it shows a very dangerous precedent for younger girls who may not be at that stage of development where they're ready to embrace their natural selves. It's what can I change so that other people like how I look, not how I look.
And actually, there was a trend that went around with Kylie before she got her lip injections, where they were putting their lips in a bottle and then blowing them up.
Speaking of Mike.
My bad.
You see the difference?
There was like a trend where they were putting their lips in a bottle and then trying to blow their lips up like Kylie's, and it landed a lot of kids in the hospital.
I remember that trend.
That's so crazy.
I remember that trend. I have couple like friends that I know that tried that trend. Man, some people their lips got stuck in the bottle.
Oh no.
And I'm telling you, in like another 10, 15 years, I think we'll see a new trend and natural will be more in. Yep. You know, when you start to get all the same procedures, the same hair, the same body shape, then everybody look alike again.
Because history just repeats itself. Yeah. Even a lot of the clothes and things that's hip now, you look back like, well, that was like my mom era, or that was my era. Like, those things just resurface themselves.
Definitely. Yeah, those are all good points. That's crazy though. Like I never look at it like that, because I mean I'm a man, so I don't really pay attention to women's stuff. But yeah, and so next question would be like, what are ways for women to continue empowering each other without bashing men? And the reason why I'm asking this question is because you could see right now, if you guys tune into the Shades Room or anywhere else, like, it's like there's a war between men and women, you know? And in order for women to, like, empower themselves and others, like, what's the best way to do it without including men into it and saying, like, oh, these men ain't this man ain't this, girl do this, You know, like what is another way to do it without, you know, in a positive manner?
I think a lot of it too is who you choose to follow, you know, and what their message is, their delivery and things, and tapping into understanding a male and the things that he deals with and encounters too, because I think that's very, very beneficial. A lot of times, you know, oftentimes men don't talk about their feelings and what they're going through, because they know they might get some pushback from a female and that sort of thing. So it's very important for us to just step outside of ourselves and not always feel like, you know, our way is the best way, but try to really understand them, because that will create a more unified front. But more importantly, going back to what you stated, is that, you know, it all has to do with who you following. So if you always following someone who's negative and always got something negative to say about a male, or a female who's never had
City girls.
a positive relationship with a male, how can they give you any positive tips?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's most important. You can't always sit up there and follow somebody behind someone who's never had a positive relationship. When it maybe come to a relationship with a more romantic relationship, or, you know, a father figure type of relationship, you can't follow behind that. You got to take some tips from people who have some good experiences.
Right. Yeah. How about that?
I think, that's a good question. I think that sometimes a hater mentality often comes from our own personal weaknesses or things we wish we had or could improve on. It's probably an insecurity within ourselves, and then we project that onto others. So if you can heal a relationship within yourself, and you're genuinely and truly blessed with who you are as a person, and you have that strong foundation, then I think kind of these gender wars would in turn disappear. Because, you know, we often, you know, in the dating world, if you are seeking a partner, but you have patterns of seeking out people based on poor choices, then that's just going to continue. And then that will fuel your own narrative of why men are no good. But if you have a strong sense of self and you've spent the time and the patience to dive into yourself, heal some demons, and then learn to love yourself, then anybody you attract, and you make those, you know, kind of corrective choices of, you know, I'm going to date for this purpose, or I'm going to, you know, seek friendships for this reason, a lot of that would heal itself, truth be told, because we're not dating from a deficit, and that kind of projects insecurities.
Right.
And if you're a man and you just want to date and you don't want to commit, be upfront about that. Yeah. You can't make someone do something they don't want to, but sometimes I feel like, you know, we kind of copping out and we'll say certain things because it's what we think someone wants to hear, but we don't really have the intent to follow through.
Most women can't handle the truth, though, you know.
You think?
I don't think that's true.
You think?
I do think sometimes that, like Teresa was saying, men are not upfront.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they like to play women off as the crazy one, but let's face it, I do understand that some people can be a little delusional, but I do think sometimes men try to sell something that they can't commit to. So then they
give crumbs.
They give crumbs and they sell this false narrative. And then the women thinks that, like, okay, this is going to be my man, but then come to find out that that's not his plan at all. And so I do think sometimes they offer false hope.
Yeah, I got a question for you about, like, do you think a man that loves you or cares about you, do you think he loves you, let me say, by him telling you the truth or him lying to you?
Well, I think the truth is probably always better.
Because I feel like if he cares about you, he's gonna be more likely to not want to hurt you if he tells you the truth.
But the truth doesn't always have to be hurtful.
No, it doesn't.
What, man?
So let's throw an example out there, because I feel like I need a little more context. When you mean truth, do you mean someone who's going to be like, well, this relationship isn't going anywhere?
Yeah, or he did something behind your back and he either want to protect your feelings or he wants to, you know.
I think that's just selfish.
Yeah.
You think that's selfish?
I think the truth is always respected.
Man, I'm saying this right now, but I bet with I bet if someone was to tell you guys the truth, I'll be crying.
Yeah, but
it's not gonna be pretty.
Of course, that's gonna be the initial reaction to something, because someone that you invest your time and your energy into and you care about them, of course you're gonna be devastated. But when it's all said and done, you're gonna self-reflect on it and say, you know what, I appreciate the fact that he told me versus I had to find out from X, Y, and Z. Because what's done in the dark always comes to light, you know. And so regardless if it's a day or two from now, a week, maybe a year, you're going to find out, because that's how it happened. That's how it works. But it's better for you to tell the person versus them hearing it from someone else, because it's going to hit a little different.
A little different, man. Fellas, you're taking notes, man. I'm doing it for the boys. You know? All right, so next question. Oh, you didn't answer the question, though. On basically... what are ways women can continue to like empower each other without bashing men?
I think honestly it just well, for one, I also think we have to stop taking experiences from other people and then pushing it onto others. Because just because you may have experienced a situation in one way with one individual doesn't mean that that's going to be the same way that you encounter it with another person.
Right.
So I think we have to stop taking those experiences and making them share, because that's not necessarily true. And then also just being confident in yourself too. We just have to learn to. You never have to tear anyone down. That's for men. That's for women. You never have to tear anyone down in order to make valid points when it comes to whether or not for different situations with men or women.
Definitely. And next question will be, okay, what would you change about the assumptions made by men of women? Did
I got a whole list. No.
You got the question?
You go first.
Okay, say it one more time. The assumption.
Yeah, what would you change about the assumptions made by men of women, towards women?
That we just want to nag for no reason. That we're very argumentative. We just like to argue because we do not like to argue.
Yeah, I like to argue, man.
No, we do not.
Man.
Stop the cap.
Stop the cap, man.
I'm done.
Sometimes I do. I'm not gonna lie.
I know. Shit.
But for the most part, when there's something to talk about and discuss, or we're just fed up because we constantly are telling you something or expressing our feelings and our thoughts, and you're not listening to them, you're not acknowledging them, then it comes from then you start to get frustrated.
Right. Okay,
so that's where I guess the argumentative, that's what you got, males say, argumentative part comes in. But we don't necessarily are interested in arguing with someone. We just want to be validated in our feelings and our thoughts. Women are very emotional, okay? So we are tapped into our emotions, which is males are not as tapped in. So you got to understand that. And if you think that, okay, well, I'm going to not mess with her and I'm going to go on to the next one. And all females are warped the same, okay? We are emotional creatures. We think with our emotions. So it doesn't matter if you go from one woman to the next, you're still going to get the same results. Okay? So therefore, you have to start to think that I need to make some change so that I won't feel like she's always arguing with me and coming at me about a situation. What can I do to change this? Okay? Because it takes a lot of our energy too. You think somebody just want to be arguing with someone all the time? No, that takes a lot of our energy.
Maybe
We're
some
exerting
toxic
energy.
people, though. No cap.
Mm-hmm.
There are some toxic people.
Toxic people. They would turn anything into an argument.
Okay.
Even you being on this podcast, they would turn that into an argument.
I'm gonna just say from a
if
different.
that's the case, then there has to be some underlying reasons and concerns that a person would take 3 women being on a podcast and turn it into an argument because what has occurred in the past, So, I mean, there's always a reasoning behind something. Is all I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
But I can stay on this.
What's the question
forever.
again?
Right. All right. What would you change about the assumptions made by men of women.
So what would be an assumption?
Just anything, just because there's a lot of assumptions that men do make of women, like women are this, that.
Give me one.
I don't know.
I'm not a man, so I don't know what assumptions men have.
Oh, so you've never experienced, you've never heard or seen men just kind of like assume something.
I said that part because I do hear that a lot. Like maybe my own relationship or other.
So one example is women are bossy, but when it comes to men are leaders.
I got a great insight on this.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like when a woman pushes you or she try to tell you to do something, she's being bossy. You know.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if men are leading how they always have.
I mean, what you mean?
What I mean by that is gender roles have changed so much in the last 10, 20, 30 years that even women working is still relatively new, but we are expected to have full-blown careers and still be mothers and nurturers. And, so 50, 60 years ago, a man would go out and work and a woman would stay home. So now women are expected to have careers and still do all of those. So what is a man doing that, and I'm married, but what is a man doing that I'm not doing myself as well?
I don't know. You tell me.
So the whole leading, I feel like, has fallen in some capacity, and we're more equals than leading.
But isn't that? I feel like a lot of relationships nowadays.
You gotta clap for what she said.
It's one of me, three of them, man. I gotta do what they say. But yeah, I mean, but think about it. With saying the leader and stuff like that, I feel like in a lot of relationships nowadays, like two partners all expect 50-50 type of relationship. So it's more like a lot of women would say, no, I want 50-50, ta-da-da-da, instead of like, I want like 100 or I want a man to do more than this, because a lot of women tend to like consider themselves to be independent. You know what I mean? And a lot of men it kind of tips a lot of men off nowadays too, because that independency, yes, is good, but also like I want to take care of you, like I want to be there for you. But then some women will push you away because they love to be independent. They love to do things on their own.
Here's a little food for thought, though. Being fiercely independent is a coping mechanism for constantly being let down.
Yes.
So you're saying every woman have been let down?
No.
Because not every woman's fiercely independent. So I think in those types of situations where you're saying a man wants to lead and a man wants to provide, and you have a woman who is struggling letting the reins of control go, my gut is telling me she has constantly been let down.
She has to show it for herself.
Yeah, okay. I mean, shit.
Another clap.
Give me that clap.
Just touch that.
And when I said not all women are not fiercely independent, that is by no means knocking other women down as well. I think I said that out of response to, from what I hear from you, men find that aggravating.
Right.
And so, relationships are definitely dynamic, and I don't think it's even 50-50. I kind of go by the assumption 100-100. Who's given 100 all the time? So it's hard to do. I don't think relationships work when it's 50-50. I think it is each partner giving 100.
Yeah, listening.
I hope so.
I hope y'all listen.
Who's that?
I pressed the wrong button.
Oh, that's the wrong one.
Thought I was going to get a clap.
That's the wrong one, but yeah, let's give that a clap too. But yeah, man, how about you? What would you say?
From my experience, I honestly will have to say, I think you mentioned it earlier about women being initiators or more dominant, especially for me as a black woman.
Right.
I feel like we get called like mean, or we get called like we don't take direction well. And that's something that I hear a lot within the black community when it comes to black women who stand up for themselves. And I feel like that's something that we need to break down, because just because I'm standing up for myself and I'm speaking, I'm taking a stance against something that someone might, what someone might do to me, what someone might say to me, but it automatically gets like I'm the loud black person.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we could also say, it also goes both ways, like you said, just being a woman and also based on like your race and so on, Like you said, I've heard that a lot of times that, I mean, like black women are aggressive, they're loud, the ghetto, all that. But, change. I gotta change that, man. Yeah, you gotta start empowering people, talking positive. All right. I don't got a lot to say because I don't want to get canceled. We
won't cancel you.
I don't want to get canceled.
Corey, we love you.
I don't want to get canceled, man. All right. So, as you know, within like workforces and so on, a lot of places where you go to, it's like male dominated, like in jobs and so on. And shout out to you guys, for having a good career job, Shout out to you guys, because it's not easy as a woman, and I do see it myself. I took women in gender studies for a reason, and I did learn a lot. So another question would just be like, how do you succeed in a male-dominated like environment? Because there's a lot of women growing up, and they're going to be going through same experiences if you guys have been through that. Mm-hmm. So like, how do you like how do you succeed within that environment?
I think you have to find your voice. I think that's the first thing, because if not, people will step all over you. People will walk all over you. Especially being a woman in any field. Honestly, I feel like women are underpaid. Women are under appreciated. So I think that like you have to like just really stand up for yourself and know your worth.
Right.
And be outspoken and be loud. That's not anything negative. That shouldn't be taken as anything negative, although some people do take that as negative.
I would agree most definitely with what Taylor said. The most important thing is just always being vocal, no matter what, and not apologizing for how you feel or having an opinion about something. You don't have to apologize. You stand on it and you be confident in that. Because obviously you got to profession because you studied it, you went to school for it. You achieved it, you mastered it, and you deserved it. And so therefore, with all of that, being confident in yourself and knowing that your word matters, how you feel matters, because you wouldn't have got all the education to back you to be in the position that you are in.
Right.
And I think by no means am I a pioneer for women in this time. I got to give a lot of props and admiration to the women who've come before us, who literally were breaking down barriers, breaking down walls, so that women could have a place in education, so that they fought so that women had the right to be at the table. And so knowing that and what we weren't allowed to have, and those who've come before us who've fought for that right, I think is so empowering to make sure we continue to do it for the women behind us as well.
Right.
So the work is not done. Like Taylor and Kavina are saying, your opinion matters. Your perspective is important. How can we produce a product? How can we have an inclusive environment if we're not including all voices at the table? So a woman's perspective is powerful. So I got to give props to those who've come before us. Shout out, Mrs. Dudley.
Mrs. Dudley.
And I have to continue to contribute and pave the way for the women who are coming.
Definitely. And this goes to my next question. What can men do to help achieve equality?
I think listen.
Yeah, and recognize that their voices are not the only important voices, and recognizing that other people do hold value. Women do hold value as well.
Right.
I mean, who raised you? To be good, let's start there. A woman raised you, and so I'm quite sure you value your mother, or your grandmother, both. So you value them. So when you're thinking about a female and in the workforce, I would think that you should try to self-reflect on the woman that paved the way and brought you up. And also, if you have a daughter too, just thinking about her voice and when she gets out into the workforce and those things that she's going to encounter. How do you want her to be able to navigate through that? Right. Sometimes people don't think about those things, those people and their families that are close to them, and how it would affect them. So start there. How it would affect the people most closest to you.
I would say make space. Make space for women, because I feel like sometimes men take up a lot of space and they don't allow for women to be expressive and for them to share ideas, especially in the workforce. Or sometimes they invalidate how they might feel towards something, or it might not be accepted because it's coming from a woman. So just making space for women.
You got anything to say?
All solid, valid points. I think, a really smart individual will learn that their perspective is not the only one that matters. And so whatever business you are in, if it's clothing, if it's fashion, if it's education, if it's law, if it's name any business or profession out there, having multiple perspectives is only going to make your product or your service more well-rounded. And so, I think I quickly said, listen, just listen, make space, because more perspectives are valuable.
More perspective are valuable. That's a good quote. You know what I'm saying? I showed her the button, man. She wants to start pressing it. But yeah, man. So yeah, I have to agree with you guys because I do have a mother, I do have sisters, and I wouldn't want them calling me and crying, saying that, oh, like I was at work trying to do this, and they're saying I can't do it. I went to school for this. I'm skilled, like I'm smart. I know what I'm doing. Like, that would break my heart, especially because I do care for them. Like you said, look at a woman or look at women that paved that way for you, like to get to a certain level, or a woman that just birthed you and raised you to a man, like till you turned 18 and you had to make your own decisions and so on. And even if you turned 18 or even 40, you still go back to your mama house to eat some food, so that's what I'm trying.
Do.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So I really do.
Like that mama.
Yeah, like the mama.
And I think, just kind of piggyback of what I said, Kavina said, and Taylor, is like, I'm not an overly confrontational person at times, but when you think of all the work that's been done for women in a lot of avenues of life, there's still work to be done. I have a daughter as well, and so I am willing to take on those battles and find that voice if it means paving a more decent path for her.
Right. Yeah, I can also say I do, like, so learning about gender roles and so on, let me go back to the gender roles. I do actually respect how they were formulated. I just didn't respect how the human rights were taken away from women, if that makes sense. Like a man, based on like our physical our physical ability and stuff like that, things that we can do, we're able to work harder and so on. Harder
more
than
physical.
more physical, and provide for the family and protect the family and so on. But if a woman is skilled in, like, let me say she want to be a nurse, she want to be a doctor. I read this one book where in the story, only the man was required to go to school, So the girls were required to be taught how to be housewives. You know, and I don't really agree with that because, you know, that's taking away your natural rights, your human rights, and so on. But looking at it, it's like with the gender roles, there's things that I do agree with and do not agree with. But I don't know what you guys agree with the gender roles, because nowadays it becomes like an issue when you try to say like a woman can stay home and men can go to work.
I do understand how some gender roles have formed when you think of a man's physicality, you know, going out to work, and a woman's anatomy is built for growing children. I can understand how they formulate. But here's my opinion, is that a woman could be whatever she wants to be. And if she wants to be a housewife, that is one of a stay-at-home mother is one of the most difficult, demanding roles to dream of. And so, you know, I agree with you, like when certain civil rights are taken away, but then I support any woman and how she wants to move with her life. So if they choose to stay home because it makes more sense for her and her family, and that's her passion and desire, then I am two hands in. And I think it's an individual basis. I think if she chooses to have a career, that's what she chose, and she is still a wonderful mother, and she is still a wonderful wife with a career, because her individual needs are important. They're not less important because she's a woman. They're just as important. So however she chooses to fulfill those needs and that self-worth is exactly how she should. And there's no one more qualified to decide that than the woman herself.
Well, what's your take on it?
I feel the same way. I just feel like women, no one should have to dictate to tell them how they should move through life. If they want to, like Teresa said, if they want to be a stay-at-home mom, if they want to go into wrestling, if they want to go into, it doesn't matter. Like, allow women to make the choices that they want to make. And I feel like people, especially older men, should stop trying to dictate what it is that they feel like a woman should do. It's not their life.
Do you think all right, so I have a question. Y'all gotta be honest with me. Do you think a woman that's, okay, let me say it like this. Do you think a woman that goes to work every day and so on is happier than a woman that's like a stay-at-home mom? Or based on your own opinion? Like,
depends on the individual.
Yeah.
It just depends on the individual. I mean, because both of them are not. It depends on your job too. Some are more demanding than others. It could be physically demanding, mentally demanding. But being a stay-at-home mom requires a lot too. I mean, dealing with little ones, you know, and their unpredictable ways, that's not always easy. Right. So it truly just depends on the individual.
And, you know, every woman has her own goals and her own dreams. And I think that's the most, like, molecularly important part of the conversation. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. That is what she wanted to do. Raising children was her passion. And so I have the utmost respect for her because that is what she chose to do. She then entered the workforce later in life, and she felt unskilled and unprepared for it. But what she didn't realize is she had so many skills acquired through staying at home that her experience was invaluable.
Okay. Most definitely. You got anything?
I think it just depends on person to person. You have some people who jump in and they want to be stay-at-home moms. That's their dream. Sometimes that's people's like dream. You know, you have your dream job, and some people just want to cater to their families, and that is a full-time job in itself. But then you have some people who want to be in corporate world. You have some people who want to be in education. I think it just varies from woman to woman. So I don't think I could ever say one is more fulfilled than the other, because a lot of people find fulfillment in being a stay-at-home mom. And
I think resources or finances play, you know, a role as well. You know, some women feel that they may not have a choice, that they do have to work to be able to provide for their family. You know, so it's such a delicate topic. I feel like individually is the best way to assess it, because no one's going to know what's best for her or for her family other than a mother herself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I respect everybody's opinion, you know. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so we are at 45 minutes. So I wanted to end this here. Thank you so much for coming through this Easy Benchal podcast with your one and only host, Glory Boy. And we out of here, man.
Be nice in the comments.
Be nice, be nice.